Hi there everyone, welcome to another episode of My Drone Journey. Rich Charpentier here from the Airstream Chronicles and RLC Design. Thanks for stopping by. So one of the big things that was important to me starting off doing drones again um, was the photographic capabilities and the video capabilities of whatever drone I picked up. The Mavic Pro is not exactly what I would want in a flying camera, but I am learning quickly, and I think that I can get what I want out of it and produce decent results. So I'm going to look over at this screen over here now, and that's a screen that you've been seeing. So I have to say, when I first started playing with the Mavic Pro, I was a little disappointed in image and color quality. The video clip that you're looking at here was shot in 4K and with the D-Log settings for color, so it's really flat. After experimenting with automatic settings and all these different settings and playing with neutral density filters and learning how to shoot properly in video, I decided to go 4K, 24 frames a second. So realistically, I was looking at a shutter speed of 1/50th of a second. As a photographer, you know, I have other things in mind, still photography that is, and so I wasn't sure that I could deal well with this because you see, the Mavic Pro, you cannot adjust your aperture. So you have to work with your shutter speed and your ISO and also ND filters, neutral density filters, for bright sunny days, which is what Arizona has all the time. So I was a little concerned, but I've got a friend who's big into color correction for Final Cut, so he had some ideas, and he actually bought a second license of a plugin for Final Cut Pro that he gave me, so that was awfully nice. Thanks, Don. So what we're looking at over here is some video from a recent visit to Goldwater Lake, and you'll notice it's pretty flat. This is the D-Log setting, and it's pretty darn washed out, right? So using Final Cut Pro and Color Finale Pro, which is right over here, I was able to actually get some more out of this image, and now we're seeing the change. I'm going to point down at the clip down here, and we're just going to slide through this window. So that is a big difference from the original flat D-Log, taking a look at that, to popping down here. And this edit took me no time at all. So I'm going to open up my little inspector here, and for this clip that we have where I'm much more satisfied with the colors and I can still tune it, you will notice that I have effects of Color Finale Pro. So Color Finale Pro is a fantastic color editing addition, we'll say. So I'm going to open the controls really quick. And so I did two things here. Number one, I added some color wheels in, and you'll notice that I dropped the gain so that we darken some of those highlights. I slightly dropped the gamma and also the lift. And I also pushed up saturation just a little bit. So we can change the opacity of this to see the difference down here on Color Finale Pro. So there we go. So if I turn off those changes that I made with the wheels, what a difference. There's that washed out terrible look. So in a matter of moments I was able to really affect the clip. I can use this on multiple clips if I like the settings and I'm shooting in the same environment. So this really improved my feelings about the DJI Mavic after testing it for a couple of weeks. So big thanks again to Don. And then I also did the vectors here. I actually brought down the luminosity of the blues and the teals to richen things up. So I can add more layers. I can actually select areas to highlight. So there is a lot going on with the Color Finale Pro tool. So when I get more comfortable with it, maybe I'll do a longer video about it. But for now, I just wanted to show you, so we can go from something pretty flat out of the D-Log here, that's not looking so good, and in just a few moments time, using the Color Finale Pro plugin, I can get deeper, richer colors that I was looking for that feel more like the scene that I saw. So that was fantastic in my mind. Now, secondly, the more important part, we're going to jump over to Lightroom here in a moment, so I'm going to pause this video, and when we resume, the bigger part that really worried me was still photography with the Mavic, and I think I'm working that out. So hang on just one moment, and we'll be right back. Alright, and as promised, we're now back in Lightroom, because I offloaded the photos from the same day that I did that video. So I'm using an ND16, a neutral density filters 16, so to darken things up, because once again, what really got me was I can't do anything with the aperture on the Mavic Pro, so I'm left to play with ISO and shutter speed. So we can still get something decent out of it, but my first few experiments with the Mavic, it was really wonky, and what I realized was I need to do a lot of settings changes between when I'm doing video and when I'm doing still photography. So there are several minutes of prep each time I use the Mavic Pro, depending on, am I doing video or am I doing stills? So I literally brought the Mavic back to my landing pad and swapped out batteries, and then did a strict setup for stills only. And I had HDR in mind, so I am a Photomatix user. I have been for years, since what, 2008 maybe. So I've always been a big fan of high dynamic range photography, and I work more toward getting realistic scenes with maybe a little extra punch now, but I had a lot of fun back in the day with some really punchy images, but now I want more realistic things. So one of the things you can do with the Mavic is do bracketed shots. So I set up for 5 bracketed shots, and this is the 0 EV shot you're seeing here. And it's okay, this is all right, but let me pop over to the HDR that came out of it. A little punchy, I was having a little fun, I can't help myself, but definitely a very interesting scene. The nice thing though in Lightroom is I can quickly develop this, so I'm popping over to the develop module really fast. The blues are a little washed out in here, so I'm in the develop module and I'm just going to run right over to hue and saturation, and I'm in luminance. I'm just going to draw the blue back to deepen it up just a little bit. I'm going to draw that aqua back so I can still play with this to my tastes afterwards. So there's step 1. Step 2, I'm taking a look at this. I'm okay with the white balance. It's looking all right to me. I'm going to pull some of those highlights back to richen up that sky just a little bit more, and maybe even pull the whites back just a touch. I'm also going to punch the clarity up to get some a little, sharper detail, and maybe I'll push the vibrance up just a little bit more. So now I've got what looks like a lake in British Columbia. That's some nice blue water right there, and I'm happier with the skies. The foreground, it was underneath a cloud, so realistically it is dark, but I can go ahead and let's pull the shadows up just a bit, and maybe let's pull those blacks up just a bit more. And if I really wanted to, I could go in here with a paintbrush tool and paint some additional light in there, so maybe I'm going to do that. So I'm doing a new mask here, and left over from my last one, let's just paint some brightness into here. This is way too much, by the way, so I'm really playing the overkill game here. So what I'm going to do with that brush is I'm going to dial that exposure back so that it's not so unrealistic. Yeah, right about there. So I'm digging that. Maybe I can pull the shadows back just a touch more. And so what do I have now? Let's see. I'm in the develop module. I'm going to turn off my brush really quick. So let's take a look. And so on the left hand side, this is what we started with out of the camera. On the right hand side, this is where we landed. The more that I'm looking at what I did with the foreground, I'm hating it. So I'm just going to go ahead back in here, turn on my brush tool, pick that brush, and delete it. So I can do a little more playing in here. Maybe if I want to fake a sunny spot down here, who knows. But overall, I've come a long way from the initial image straight out of the camera. So I will only be shooting in RAW with the DJI, and I will most likely be bracketing every single time, either to do HDR or to give myself a range of solutions, or if I have to, layer a couple of images together in Photoshop and pick and choose between the layers, because that's another way to go at it. But so I'm not so concerned about the photo or video quality now. I have the tools to deal with it. I will say this, in JPEG or in RAW, straight out of the camera, I'm not super thrilled with the results. So there's always going to have to be post-processing, at least for me, because the Arizona skies are hyper blue. They're frighteningly blue. So to get this kind of washed out area here, when that's just not what anybody's seeing, even when their boots are on the ground, there's always going to be some post-processing. Fortunately, with Final Cut Pro, I've got the Color Finale Pro plugin, which is going to be a huge help for video editing. And as always, in my case, I've been using Lightroom for almost a decade now, and Lightroom is a huge help. So now you've got the idea here. So you can work with the DJI Mavic and its images and video. So much happier. My initial concerns are out the window, and I'm feeling a lot better about what I can do with the Mavic. All right, thanks for stopping in and watching my drone journey again. And please feel free to subscribe to the channel, and also pop by the airstreamchronicles.com or rlcdesign.net if you need help getting found online. We specialize in that. All right, until the next video, we'll see you soon.